injury. He might be among the riders perhaps who will struggle to a greater extent with the physicality here.
Yeah, I remember though in Sepang, that was always one of Chaz's favourite tracks, one of the places he went really well because traditionally his fitness has been a big advantage for him, and that is one of the areas where some riders in the past had a big advantage over others. Now pretty much everyone on the grid is super fit, and that advantage that you might have had, it does get minimised quite a bit. But if you just have that small 1% advantage, it can make the difference over the course of 3 races in the weekend.
Yes, he's not shy of the mountain passes, is he? A little bit of cycling up in Andorra.
Yeah, and you tend to see with all these riders, when you look at their social media, it's always in the middle of race weekends, or the gap between race weekends, they're training hard, they're all out cycling or hiking or running or one thing after the other. And I think here in Indonesia, we've seen quite a few of them out swimming as well. Or
just before race weekends, if you're Scott Redding, of course.
Yeah, and obviously for Scott, that gap between Jerez and Portimao, cycling between the 2 tracks, it was an interesting way to get himself ready, but it worked. He had a great weekend in Portimao.
Yes, anyone who'd been criticising him prior to that weekend for the decision to exert himself between 2 rounds quickly had to eat humble pie after a brace of second positions over the course of that weekend. 5 minutes to go, so we're into the final stretch now as far as hot laps are concerned. Toprak Razgatlioglu just getting up and running with his latest flying lap. 1 minute 36.260 at the moment is Toprak's time. That's the one to beat. Second fastest is with Alex Lowe's. The gap now has been cut to less than 0.4 of a second between Toprak and the rest. So the latest stint for the Kawasaki men going well. Isaac Viñales up in 3rd position with a 1:37 flat, and then Axel Bassani, Michael Ruben Rinaldi, Scott Redding and Jonathan Rea, your top 7.
Yeah, what's interesting in the last couple of laps is that we've seen a lot of riders make that step in the final sector as well. Those only a 1/10 of a second slower than Toprak in that final sector. Now, Isaac Viñales is very impressive in his lap as well to move within a second of Toprak's times.
Toprak 3/10 of a second faster than he's been before through that first sector. It is blinding his pace.
Yeah, and Toprak willing to push on now, and you'd imagine he's out there on a fresh soft tyre and that rear, and he's just trying to use it now to get a little bit of knowledge about what to expect when you put in that fresh rubber on these final laps of the session. We did see Tom Sykes had a crash down at turn 6 as well. Looks like he's been able to rejoin and hopefully able to get himself back to the pits.
Toprak Razgatlioglu, another 3/10 of a second he's found over the course of the 2 latest sectors. So 2/3 of a second now almost up after 3 completed sectors. This is going to be a blinding effort from Toprak Razgatlioglu with 4 minutes to go. Alex Lowe's at the moment is second fastest. He's going to cut the gap to Razgatlioglu at the top of the timing order, but it's not going to be for long. There goes Toprak's lap of 1 minute 35.407. That is a stunning effort from Razgatlioglu. More than a second faster than anyone else has been, once again in free practice 1.
Yeah, I said at the start of the show that we might get down into the 34s. It looks like if anyone's it's only going to be Toprak, but he still needs to find another 0.4 of a second. But some riders are finding some pace. You can see there Leon Haslam with a good opening sector there for him to try and give himself a chance to try and improve on his fastest time. He's down in 12 fastest at the moment.
You're just making sure that Toprak's given a stretch target. That's standard practice, and it's all absolutely fine, but he's pushing towards it. Another fast first sector from Razgatlioglu with 3.5 minutes to go in FP1.
Yeah, really laying down a marker to everyone else, and Toprak very impressive with how quickly he's been able to get up to speed. We saw this earlier in the season in Most as well, a brand new track, and really in those opening couple of laps he was able to learn the track very quickly. Looks like it's been the same here.
Jonathan Rea still rooted to the pit box, and the statistics prove it along the bottom of the screen. Just 10 laps completed for Rea during this session. I said it earlier on, his running had been fairly restricted, while Toprak Razgatlioglu's out there about to pull another 3/10 of a second at least off his previous fastest time. Jonathan Rea stranded in 8th position and stranded in the pit box with work ongoing.
Yeah, and with only 2.5 minutes left, it's not too likely that he's going to get it back out. At the very least, he might manage to just get an out lap to make sure that the bike's okay for the afternoon, but that might be all that he's able to do in this session.
Toprak Razgatlioglu then over the line. Second run of the second lap of this final stint for Razgatlioglu, and he does get down into the 1 minute 34, so 1:34.985, and we're continuing to rub our eyes here in the commentary box with the alacrity with which Razgatlioglu has learned this circuit and is now pounding in the fast laps.
Yeah, 1.6 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Alex Lowe's up there in second fastest. Scott Redding 1.9 seconds off the pace. You can see there a bit of frustration probably for Jonathan Ray that he's not been able to get himself back out there after that first stint.
He was already starting on the back foot. He's going to feel even more on the back foot now. New circuit, first free practice session. Rivals storming away at the top of the timing charts, and 2.4 seconds down on him is Jonathan Ray. Now, clearly there's a tyre element to that. Clearly there's an element to which Toprak has been putting in an awful lot more laps during this session than Jonathan Ray. He's going to be on almost double the number of laps that Ray has managed by the end of this FP1. Razgatlioglu storming away then. I don't think he's got anything left in the locker to try and improve that time any further, although he does tend to be a man of surprises, doesn't he? Alex Lowe's improving on his latest lap as things stand. Likewise, Scott Redding has just crossed the line, 136.820. Michael van der Mark also moving up the order. He's doing a good job. Further back on the circuit, Alvaro Bautista in line to make some real progress. 137.3, his previous best during this session, and we pick up the Spaniard now.
Yeah, could move himself up into the top 5 here. Bautista, 6th fastest, 2 seconds off the pace, so he's there pretty much the same kind of lap times as Vinales and Axel Bassani. Scott Redding a couple of tenths of a second faster, but Alvaro with time for another lap at the end of this session.
Well, I was going to say 2.5 seconds off the pace of Razgatlioglu, because to be perfectly honest, from Lowe's in second position down, there's very little to choose between them. Lowe's with a 136.529. That's Garrett Gerloff, who's just come across the line with a 136.585. So that's 1.6 seconds for Gerloff off Razgatlioglu. But from Lowe's all the way down past Jonathan Ray, who's now relegated outside of the top 10, but as you can see, makes his way onto the circuit just to check that the machine is in working order, with only 20 seconds remaining until the checkered flag falls. But from Lowe's all the way down to Leon Haslam and Chaz Davies in 12th and 13th positions, just a second covering all of those riders.
Yeah, it is close in that second group, and what's going to be really interesting to see is what kind of progress everyone can make between free practice 1 and free practice 2, because spotting Toprak a second and a half, you kind of hope that a lot of that's just the fact that Toprak was willing to push harder than them at this stage, but we also know that the Yamaha as a package tends to work really well everywhere we've gone through the course of this season. So Toprak's going to feel with his base setting that he's got a pretty good option right from the outset, and obviously the opening laps are going to give him more and more confidence as well.
What second group is that then? Razgatlioglu is a group all on his own in free practice 1, 134.985, a second and a half faster than his nearest rival as the checkered flag falls. It's Alex Lowe's who's second fastest, then it's Garrett Gerloff, Redding Vinales, Alvaro Bautista just recovering 6th place as he crosses the line, 137 flat for Bautista, so a couple of promising laps at the end of the session from the former world number 2. Axel Bassani 7th fastest, Michael van der Mark, Michael Ruben Rinaldi and Andrea Locatelli rounding out your top 10. Jonathan Ray completes his installation lap and he'll see the checkered flag.
Yeah, and Andrea Locatelli was the busiest rider out there as well. He's going to do 21 laps in this session himself, and Tito Rabat, and Toprak put in a lot of laps as well, 19 laps, and you'd imagine when you look at the time there from Alex Lowe's at 36.5, Toprak's going to have quite a few laps faster than that as well. When we see the session analysis at the end of the session, that's where we're really going to be able to see just how strong Toprak's been. It hasn't been one lap, I'd say you're looking at 5 or 6 laps that have been faster than anyone else. You
mentioned previously the crash for Tom Sykes in the second sector earlier on in the session. He made his way back to the pits as Toprak Razgatlioglu proves himself a real master of balance on the front wheel. He's like a performing seal at times, this man, isn't he? And he might have some more celebrations in store for us if he can claim the world title this weekend, which could be as soon as tomorrow.
Well, I'll be honest, no matter what Toprak's title celebrations could potentially be, they're not going to be anywhere near as spectacular as he is out in the racetrack, because we saw right from the start of this session how hard he was willing to push. We saw in his outlap he was making moves on riders around him, and he's just brought the confidence that comes from the success he's had all the way through the season to bear all the way through, and looked really, really good right from the outset here. A second and a half in hand, obviously, on Alex Lowe's shows just how strong it is, but Toprak's just put that pressure onto Jonathan Ray, and the technical issues that Ray had, that would